Mm. All righty, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our second office hour, all about living and serving in Los Angeles. My name is Molly, your service year advisor and host for today. I'm going to go ahead and get our PowerPoint situated so we can get started. Okay. We are going to do some introductions in a second, but feel free to pop in the chat to introduce yourself. Like I said, my name is Molly. Pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm your service year advisor, and I served with City of Los Angeles myself. I was a first-year AmeriCorps member at Now Academy from 2015 and 2016, and then I did a senior corps year on our civic engagement team the following year from 2016 and 2017. So yeah, I've had 2 years of service, and I'm not coming into this space as like an expert on Los Angeles entirely. I lived in LA for about 4 years, and I've been with City Year for even longer. But a lot of the information I'm sharing is coming from my experience and experience from other folks and things that have just been like handed down over the years. So definitely welcome your questions. We can pause like throughout this presentation if things come up. We do have a hefty PowerPoint ahead, so we may be here for the full hour. Just be prepared. But yeah, these office hours are like appetizers and snacks leading up to your first day of service. And so my hope is that you'll find the preliminary information here useful so that you all feel like comfortable and like confident going into your year of service. This is our quick agenda for the day. We will go over some introductions and give folks the opportunity to introduce themselves, take themselves off mute, and just say hello. We are then going to talk about what it means to serve as an AmeriCorps member. Then we'll dive into serving in Los Angeles, what it's like to live here, and talk about some next steps. So yeah, essentially, our hope is that by the end of this call, you'll understand a little bit more about what it means to serve as an AmeriCorps member, you know, what makes service in Los Angeles especially stand out. We will talk about some tips and advice for living here and talk about all of the relocation support that is available to you. So our top recommendations. Okay, in terms of introductions, I would love it if folks could take themselves off mute, go ahead and share what your name is, where you're from, what school you go to, or school you attended, and tell us what you're most looking forward to. We do have some staff member friends joining us today. So I think maybe we could pause first and just see, just for incoming corps members, go ahead and let us know, yeah, what your name is, where you're from. If you don't want to take yourself off mute and share, you're definitely welcome to share in the chat. But I'll go ahead and pause.
I'll go if nobody else will go first. My name is Mia. I'm going to be a first year member, AmeriCorps, and I'm currently a student at the University of Oregon, but I'm from the Portland area. And yeah, I'm super, super excited.
Anyone else? Yes, we have some. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Alexis. I am from Rhode Island, so I'm East Coast. I go to school in Massachusetts. It's called Assumption University. I don't know if you probably have not heard of it. It's super small. And something I'm looking forward about City Year. I'm very much looking forward to helping in schools and getting like, helping out, getting to work with children and like students one-on-one. That's very what I like to do. So.
My name is Jessie. I'm from Berkeley, California, and I currently go to school in Washington at the University of Puget Sound. And I'm looking forward to working with kids and just being surrounded by you guys who are interested in similar things as I am.
Anyone else want to share before our staff members jump in? Okay, so I try to get city or friends to join us whenever possible, whether that's core members, folks on staff, alumni. So we don't have any like formal Q&A space or like panels happening today, but I love that we have some friends joining us to just listen in. There may be opportunities for them to like add information as well, especially if I'm missing anything. So for the staff members who are here, I'd love for you to introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and just what your position is.
I'll go. Hi, everyone. My name is Allison. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a recruiter with City Year. So some of you may have spoken with a recruiter before or during or after you applied to City Year. Our role is basically just to tell you about City Year, answer any questions that you may have, kind of walk you through the admissions process. Prep you for the interview if you need help with that. I served as City Year Boston, it feels like 100 years ago, 2012, 2013. I went to Pepperdine. I'm from the like Pasadena area, which I guess is technically Los Angeles County, although it feels very far away. But right now I live in San Diego. And I don't know what else you want me to share, Molly. Did I hit everything?
I think that's good. Yeah, everything and then some.
Okay, wonderful. And yeah, thank you, Molly, for hosting this time and for inviting me. So happy to be here. I will be here if any questions come up around recruiting too.
Thanks, Allison. For those of you who just joined us, we heard from our incoming core members, and I'm having staff members give a quick introduction, share your name, what your position is. You can tell us where you're from, what school you went to, if you're a City Year alum. And yeah, who wants to go next?
I can go. Hi y'all, my name is David. My pronouns are they, he. I'm also a recruiter on the team with Allison. So, doing all the same stuff as she does. I am from Pomona. It's about 30 miles east of LA. I was a transfer student, got my degree in English from Davis, UC Davis, and I did not serve, but all my experience before jumping into this job as a recruiter is a lot of similar work to what y'all are going to be doing. So I did a lot of college access, academic advising with high school students. But yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, just want to sit in and see what office hours are like. Thank you, Molly. And I will pass it along to whoever's next.
Hey everyone, my name is Victoria. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I work on our AmeriCorps Member Experience team, or we call it ACME at our site. I served in the Corps. I was a first year in 2018, came back as a team leader and then a program manager, and now I'm in this role. ACME can mean a lot of things, but I think it's from the start of when you join us in onboarding all throughout your service year, just looking out for your experience. And then specifically, I work with returners. So folks that join us a second time around for second years, or team leaders, or they're in our civic engagement team. I work really closely with them, but I'm excited to meet you all in person, and congratulations.
Hey, good afternoon, y'all. This is Trevor Kress. I am the Acme director, so I work closely with Victoria. So again, that's AmeriCorps member experience, which does mean a whole lot of things and ranges so widely. So you'll see Victoria and I do different capacities, whether it's in small learning communities or it's in larger activities we're doing for everyone. I also work very closely with Molly on the onboarding team, so I'm excited to see some of these spaces and to see some people show up. So excited to have you all join us next year, and glad that you all can get some information before the year gets started. So yeah, thank you for having us, Molly. I appreciate the space.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. I think that was everyone. We had a couple folks introduce themselves in the chat. So welcome, Cecilia. Welcome, Janelle. Glad you're here. All right, let's get it going. Okay. So what is AmeriCorps? We're going to start with a quick video that'll answer this question for us. If I can get it to play.
Well, you've come to the right place, because we're here to help. First off, let's clear up one thing right away. You might be wondering how to say or spell AmeriCorps. Sometimes people pronounce the P, but don't make that same mistake. AmeriCorps is alive and well, just spelled with a silent P. So think of Apple Core, or core of the earth. Now that we have that clear, what exactly is AmeriCorps anyways? AmeriCorps is simply Americans of all ages and backgrounds dedicating their time and skills to get things done. There we go. So how does AmeriCorps get things done? More than 80,000 Americans across the country join AmeriCorps each year, and all of them are tackling different problems in different ways. For example, AmeriCorps members help families attain affordable homes. They mentor students so that they stay in school. Perhaps there is a tornado, a flood, a forest fire, or a hurricane. AmeriCorps members also help communities recover from disasters. There's so many more things that AmeriCorps members do. But if we said it all, we'd be here all day. Why do we call them members, you ask? AmeriCorps members spend anywhere from 3 months to a year dedicating their time and skills to serve. They can volunteer with nonprofits, schools, public agencies, and community and faith-based organizations. And in case you were wondering, there are a few perks AmeriCorps members get, including money to pay for college, student loan deferment, training, living allowance, health benefits, and job opportunities with leading employers. Not too bad, right? All right. What's the purpose of AmeriCorps? Like the military or the Peace Corps, AmeriCorps is a way to serve your country. AmeriCorps members make Americans safer, stronger, and healthier, and they strengthen our communities. But above all, AmeriCorps members get things done. That's it. That's what AmeriCorps is. Learn more about AmeriCorps at AmeriCorps.gov.
All right. So that was a brief kind of snapshot about what AmeriCorps is, what it means to serve. So I think it's important to note that this isn't a regular job. You are doing a year of service as a volunteer member with AmeriCorps, and you're going to receive a lot of benefits that like a normal volunteer position isn't going to receive. So everyone receives a stipend, a Siegel Education Award. We have everything like health benefits. All the details are listed in our benefits guide, which is linked in Slack. So if you haven't checked that out yet, I highly recommend it. But yeah, this isn't ongoing employment. So your term of service will be roughly late July through early June. And this is a gap year experience. So while you can serve more than one gap year, you can certainly return for a second year. You can do a senior core year. You can stay with us long term, but this is going to be like your year of service before you go into the next thing. That is a small snapshot of AmeriCorps. You will talk more about that when you start your training after service begins, to talk about like AmeriCorps regulations, other like rules you may need to follow, but that is the kind of brief snack version of it. So let's go ahead and talk about serving in LA. This is kind of a recap if you've been to other office hour sessions. I'm going to bring the slide back and everyone so y'all get it. But yeah, as a City Year AmeriCorps member, you are serving an under-resourced community for at least 11 months of service, and you're really going to be a part of the fabric of the school community. You'll get to know your students, parents, teachers, other school staff, and principals to really support an overall positive like learning environment. You'll have a focus list of students who you'll support in math and English. You'll get to know them as people. You'll spend that time during lunch and like recess and really learn about their lives and some of the challenges they face. And you won't be alone. You're going to be serving on a team of like around 5 to 12 AmeriCorps members. And you'll be led by a senior core member who's going to be your team leader. And you'll have a program manager who oversees the school partnership and manages your team as well. So you are doing this work with others. You're not going to be placed at a single partner school with nobody else. So you have the city or community at your back to support you. Okay. And this is an overview of a typical day in the life for full-time student success coaches, which is most of you. The start time can range depending on when that particular school begins, but I'd say it's generally between like 7 and 7:15 a.m. So early mornings. You'll get to meet with your team. You'll get to greet students and family members as they come to school in the morning. You will spend time in your classroom giving one-on-one or small group instruction to your focus list students in either math or English literacy. And you'll meet with your partner teacher to touch base, talk about what lessons are going to be covered for the day, and share data just kind of as needed. Midday, you'll have your own lunch break. You'll have a planning period for you to design your lesson plans or work on any like posters for events that you could be planning with your teammates. So yeah, that's around midday. And then you'll return to the classroom for a couple hours. And then with your team, you're going to lead an after school program where you will do some homework help and some other more intentional like small group or one-on-one tutoring sessions with folks. And the day will generally wrap up between like 5 and 5:30. There's some flexibility in terms of like say maybe your program, your after school program like ends at 5, but parents are a little late coming to pick up their kids. So that can have a factor in like when your end time is going to be. But generally a day on average is like 10 hours Monday through Friday. So some flexibility there with the end time, but you will have a set start time throughout the year. And for part-time school day learning coaches, the schedule is going to look a little different. So this is the kind of estimated general schedule that you could expect to follow. You will be on a team of other part-time school day learning coaches, and you will be greeting your students in the morning, running small group intervention sessions, either one-on-one or in small groups. You will have lunch. You'll continue for maybe a short time in the afternoon before you wrap up and end the day with your team. We're keeping it general for now, but as soon as we do have more details about a specific service day, what it looks like, we will definitely let you know. Okay, this is a map of the current schools that we do serve in. Our partnerships may change slightly year to year, so I wouldn't get like too hung up on like serving at one particular school, but it does give you an idea of where we might return for the upcoming school year. But as you can see, we serve in South LA, Watts, Boyle Heights, and we have a partnership in Koreatown. Most of our partner schools are in South LA and Watts, so something to keep an eye on. Let's see. And what is very exciting, recently confirmed, is that for our part-time school day learning coaches, we do have our partner school set, but we'll be at Pio Pico Middle School and Dr. Maya Angelou Community High Schools. So we're sticking with middle school and high school, although I would expect the grade range to be like 6th to 9th grade. So won't get anywhere above that. But yeah, something to look forward to. If you're especially thinking about housing and where you might live, you can look at housing close to these schools to help like offset your commute. Okay. And in terms of City Year LA, just a few things that make us stand out. Of course, we have like a large network of City Year locations and each one is very unique. But what I love about City Year LA is our dedicated like staff and like committee around Lacey, which is Life After City Year. So other sites may just have like one staff member who's coordinating like a resume workshop. But we have like a ton of people like on staff who are actively working on this and planning like career fairs or like resume workshops or just like a variety of opportunities. So there's more people who are like involved with your plans so that you feel comfortable like wrapping up your year of service and feel comfortable going into your next move, whether that's a career or like graduate school or another year of service with City Year. We also have some pretty cool local partnerships. I threw out Riot Games and Deloitte on there as well. So some of our partnerships like sponsor our teams, which is pretty awesome. And we also have the highest stipend in the network. So $1,190 pre-tax every 2 weeks. And for part-time school day learning coaches, that's $595 every 2 weeks before taxes. So, so now this is our 15 years of impact video. It's kind of a tearjerker, but I think this is also what makes CYLA kind of special. You'll see some City Year alumni getting to see their former students again. So let's go ahead and check it out. If it will play for me. Okay. Let's try it again. Nope. Okay. Go to. Thanks, y'all, for bearing with me.
City Year needed LA, and LA needed City Year. We launched our first corps in September 2007 with 75 corps members serving in 8 schools across the city.
There were 2 employees. There was no funding. So we mapped out a plan to attack it. Everywhere we went, people across the community said yes. Putting an army of good in our schools will have an incredible impact.
I was a smart kid, but I like to talk back a lot. I remember teachers have these files on students, and I had found my file, and I opened it, and I just read all the bad things teachers were writing about me throughout the years. And I was just like, dang, they really hate me.
Jennifer was one of the first students who came up to me when I first started and just was like, who are you? The immediate trust the students had as soon as they saw a City Year person on campus, it was amazing.
We really understood what City Year was best at was deploying young people in schools and first connecting on the human level.
The model was called Whole School, Whole Child, which was looking at the whole student. What are they going through? What are their experiences they're bringing into the classroom?
It's really sweet. My City Year is Miss Adeseli, and like when she comes in the morning, no matter what we're doing, all the kids stop and go, "Hi, Miss Adeseli." They know there's someone that's giving them that one-on-one attention and saying, "I see you." It makes such a difference.
Beyond the academic support, they are great at building relationship with students. Students feel connected to a person at the school, which means that they feel connected to the school.
Because of that, attendance increased. Students were 2 to 3 times more likely to grow in math and English, and their social emotional development improved tremendously.
As an 11-year-old girl, I could meet my educational goals. I needed someone to be an aspiration to me.
I remember connecting with Wendell. She was very bright, and aware of kind of what was going on at her age.
Bert came in leading with this kindness and leading with these questions. How are you? How are you doing? How are you understanding this? I may not need all of the support that he's offering, but I need the conversation that he's creating.
That near peer type of environment allows for them to be able to talk to our core members who are really ready to listen and who are ready to see them.
I feel like City Year members got the time to really know me and know that I had potential. I was a smart kid. City Year was like a safe haven for me and like other kids to again, be children and have a friend.
Your presence and sort of who you were in that classroom setting, because you weren't a teacher. Yeah. And you were the first person to kind of approach me as a person, first of all.
You guys. It's the reason I became a teacher.
It is truly remarkable to know that we were a small, scrappy startup team that now has laid the foundation for thousands of core members, alumni, and students to truly realize their potential in Los Angeles.
We have over 3,000 alumni who are now serving in city government, on school boards, as teachers, counselors, doctors, nurses, and the entertainment business. They are becoming an incredible part of the fabric of LA and continue to make LA a better city.
It's essential for me to be able to say, all right, kids, you come from South LA like I did, you can come into this role. And how are you going to carry it on?
All of us that are involved in City Year, our heart is with, the students that we're trying to serve, because that's what makes our city better.
Alrighty. Thanks y'all for watching. Current slide. Forward. Okay. So that's LA. Let's go ahead and talk about living in Los Angeles. I brought this up in my last office hour. I think these are some pretty solid selling points for LA. Best weather, food, and just always having something to do. I'd say the weather is more of a challenge this year than it has been in years past. I might have heard on the news, we've had a couple storms. Who's to say if that will continue for next year, but it is something to be aware of. But congrats, y'all. You picked the best city to live in. There's so much to do. So I couldn't possibly name everything. But these are some popular and well-known landmarks, markets, museums. There's also a lot to do nature-wise. We have the beach, usually have great weather. There's a ton of parks. Mountains are just a short kind of drive away. And there's always a ton of events. Every author or musician will come here to do book signings or concerts. And there's just a ton of festivals. Does anyone any like staff members who are already in LA or any folks who currently live here want to shout out a favorite spot in LA to visit, whether it's on this list or otherwise? Okay, I know I'm winging it, so feel free to share with us in the chat. Yeah, and in terms of like, I'm naming free things to do in LA because we know the stipend is small, and we will talk about budgeting at a later office hour. But there are fun like free events to do. There are open mic events, comedy shows. Something I just recently heard about was Mental Health Mondays at Leimert Park. This photo in the top left is the Secret Swing at Elysian Park. You can Google it to find out where it is. Below that is the Santa Monica Pier. Expo line goes all the way there, and everyone's going to receive a free Metro Tap card, so you can use that to ride down to Santa Monica. Echo Park also has a ton of like secret staircases where there's a lot of like murals like shown in the photo here, so you can definitely check that out. And there are a ton of museums as well. This bottom photo is from the latest exhibit at the California African American Museum, and we'll talk about EBT and CalFresh later on, but if you have one of those, you're likely going to get into the museum for free. Not all museums will advertise it, but if you go ahead and just give them a call to see if they'll accept it, then they may let you in for free. Alrighty, yep. What else? So I'm just gonna pause before we talk about driving in LA. But I feel like this is a slightly accurate overview. If you haven't heard of Overheard LA and you're on Instagram or TikTok, you can definitely check it out. I bring this up because LA is somewhat infamous for its traffic. So if you ever look at a map of LA and see all the different communities, if you were to compare it to another like anywhere else, it would likely seem like very quick driving trips around to different communities. But because the traffic and that congestion, it can take longer than anticipated to drive around to different areas. So definitely always check Google Maps or use like Waze or other apps to navigate. A lot of Californians also, especially Southern California folks, may struggle with driving in the rain. You'll note hydro flasks, not hydroplanes. So something to keep aware of, something to be aware of as we're getting some more rain this year than usual. Weather can be a challenge for folks living here. Alrighty, but let's go ahead and talk about some pros and cons of driving versus public transportation. Of course, with driving, you have more control about when you leave. So that's a plus. You can also carpool with other corps members. I believe all of our schools actually have parking, or at least a designated lot that's like close by. Folks can correct me if I'm wrong, but parking usually should be pretty easy. But yeah, you also have your own like personal space when you're driving in your own car. Both public transportation, it is free. I'm gonna go ahead and let someone else in the waiting room in. Welcome for those of you who are just joining us. We are talking about transportation around LA and some of the pros and cons of driving versus public transit. Yeah, let's see. So with taking public transportation, you are going to receive a free Metro Tap card, so you won't have to pay for those. It does apply to buses and the light rails. So if you're thinking about like taking the Metro Link to like Santa Clarita or Lancaster, just know that the Metro Link is not covered by this, but the light rails and the regular bus system is. You can also still, use your phone on public transit. You can listen to music or your favorite podcast, and you're being environmentally friendly. So that's a bonus. Some of the cons, of course, are sitting in traffic, the cost of gas, if you ever have car troubles, then you might need to take public transportation anyways. And so just something to think about. With public transit, I'd say there are apps that you can use to track when like your bus is going to arrive. However, like there are some delays that inevitably occur. So when you plan your travel, you may have to like factor that in if you're taking like multiple bus routes. So I'm gonna check the chat real quick. Yeah. Okay, so some common tips. Definitely carpool if that is an option for you. You can pool your money for gas. Always check to see when traffic hours are going to be rushing. It's just something you can learn with experience, but yeah, I think just tracking that will help give you a better idea. With public transit, you can definitely check out which like buses are fastest and where you want to walk, or maybe you'd rather just transfer. But yeah, it's pretty easily accessible, and you can keep your tap pass in like a clear phone case just to scan it. You do want to be visible at bus stops. If it's crowded, your bus driver will stop 100% of the time, but if it's just you and you are off to the side or just looking at your phone, some bus drivers just won't see you and they'll just drive right by. So to be aware of your surroundings and like, you know, wave at bus drivers if it's just you at your bus stop. Okay, and always try to catch the best train that would get you there early, because yes, delays are imminent. So yeah, sometimes your bus is delayed, so it can help to take an earlier one to make sure that you arrive to your destination on time. Alrighty. Wanted to pop in here a few stories just because I know sometimes folks in the past have like hesitancies with taking public transit and maybe they're not used to it. I mean, hopefully they're funny, but I've been mistaken for security before. I've seen even like the new uniforms at like Union Station are like, the security uniforms are actually pretty similar to the yellow jackets. It's like the top half of their jacket is yellow and the bottom half is black, and your jacket will be all yellow. But it has happened, so just keep that in mind. But we're generally familiar within our communities, so while in uniform, students may approach you and ask like if you know their city year member, like, do you know Mr. John or Miss like Alice? So yeah, family members may do the same thing as well, just to see like what school you're at. So just know that like some students will be comfortable going up to you. When I served at Now Academy, a former city year member actually became a teacher, and he still lived in Koreatown, like he still stayed in the area. And we would wait at the front of our schools for parents to pick their kids up from our after school program. And that was usually around the same time that he would like go for a jog around the neighborhood. So because he was alumni, he would often like yell out like go city year, like just like kind of wave at us or just like try to pump us up. It was really sweet. So you may have random city year members like trying to hype you up because they know that service days are super long, and they know some energy can be appreciated. So keep that in mind. I also love to follow Metro Los Angeles on Instagram. This is a screenshot of them dancing to Beyonce. So if you ever want to get to know our local Metro Instagram account, I definitely recommend checking that out. Okay. And wanted to spend a minute talking about school placement. So we are going to release a placement and onboarding survey. So that will factor in your Los Angeles address, as well as your experience working with certain grade levels. Generally, you'll be able to share like your highest level of comfort tutoring in math and English, essentially. We also we want to take alumni into consideration. So if you think we may be serving at an LA Unified school that you went to, you can definitely put that in the survey and we will try to place you at that school. This survey will also take into, I mean, it's a placement survey, but there's also necessary information that our operations team is going to collect as well. So you'll be submitting a photo for your TAP card, and you will essentially authorize that we can order one for you. So once we do release the school placement and onboarding survey, it's great to just like fill it out as soon as possible, at least within a couple weeks. And if you don't have your address at that point, you can resubmit the survey with your new address once you have it. Because then you're likely going to receive your school placement, I'd say tentatively early to mid-July, because mid-July is around the time when folks will come into the city or office to officially register for service. So just something to keep in mind. If you submit your placement survey early, we will still factor in your address later once you have it. But I'll keep y'all up to date in terms of when that survey goes out and when we anticipate having school placements ready. We do continue to hire throughout spring and summer, so that factors into school placement as well. Okay. Alrighty, let's roll into some relocation benefits and resources. So everyone who's relocating over 50 miles does qualify for a one-time tax payment of $500, and you'll receive it in your first or second paycheck. So even if you are like going to school across the country and you're moving home in Los Angeles, if it's over 50 miles, like you're still going to receive the benefit. It's not like only for folks who are moving to LA and have never like lived in Los Angeles before. So something to keep in mind. I did mention the mid-July registration period. So that will be before our official start date. So let's say you need to come into the city or office for your registration appointment on a Friday, but your new lease doesn't begin until Monday. We can put you up in a local hotel for up to 6 nights. So I'll give more details as we get closer, but essentially you're just going to fill out a quick form with your desired dates, and we will send you the details for your hotel booking. So something to keep in mind. It'll be nice to not have to buy your own hotel for LA for a few nights. Okay, local benefits. I've mentioned this with some folks, but we are in the process of connecting with a local realtor who we hope can help find options for you in terms of housing. We also have an ongoing partnership with Solar Rentals, which is based in South LA, and they will prioritize city applicants. So once they let me know what rentals are available, I will share that with everyone, as well as the process for like how to apply for these available units. So just keep in mind that more information about this and a direct like process is on the way. But we really hope this helps folks with the support they need to look for housing. And South LA is also convenient because it is like central to all the communities we serve. So just something to keep in mind. All right, CalFresh and SNAP. This is not a benefit that's offered by City Year, but it is a federal program that we find AmeriCorps members typically qualify for. Some folks who are local might be like on this program already, but if you're not, you are definitely welcome to apply, and you can as soon as you have a Los Angeles address. But the City Year stipend does not qualify as income when you submit your application. So if the City Year stipend is your main source of income, you're more likely to have more funding, and the funds you receive through CalFresh can be used at like most grocery stores and like markets in Los Angeles. It usually doesn't cover like hot food, but like Food for Less, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, Vons, Ralph's, like most grocery stores that are very common all except EBT. For me personally, when I served, I wasn't receiving additional support from family. My family members could not even, like, they weren't claiming me as a dependent on their taxes. So I qualified for CalFresh, and it covered all the costs of my groceries, like month to month. So everyone's situation will be unique and kind of different, but I highly recommend applying and just to see what you qualify for. Even if you're not sure, it could definitely still be worth it. We've even talked to I've heard from some core members in the past saying like that they wish they'd applied to this. So I'd rather that not be you. It's always worth it just to apply anyways and see, just see what you get. In the past, pre-pandemic, we would have CalFresh folks come to the office for one-on-one appointments, but lately they have been virtual. So if we have our registration period mid-July, when you come to your registration appointment, that is likely going to be when you schedule a time to connect with a CalFresh worker over the phone. They will review your application if you submitted one already, or you can submit one just like while you're speaking with them. We are going to provide you with a letter that just verifies that you're a City Year AmeriCorps member and that your stipend does not officially count as income. So there are supports we offer in this process. City Year doesn't control like the amount you receive, but this is like what we can do to support your application so that you can get those benefits as soon as possible. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into searching for housing. So we generally recommend folks live within or like close to the communities we serve, just to help like offset your commute time. If you'll remember, your start time could be as early as like 7 in the morning. So definitely something to keep in mind. Like the closer you can live within the community you serve, the better. So you won't know your school partner, you won't know like your actual school until later in July. However, if you live close to one of these communities and share your address, then you're more likely to be placed within that community. So that's the kind of first piece of advice. The second one isn't usually a fun one. I know folks like to have their own room, but we do encourage folks have roommates, share rooms if they can. It really, really helps offset the cost of housing. We are going to talk more about budgeting next month at our next office hour, but it does help greatly reduce that cost. So something to keep in mind, especially if you're going to serve just for a year. I had a roommate when I served, so it's never like fun, but when you find someone that you connect with and build that relationship early, then it can still be like a worthwhile experience, and you have more money to spend for yourself. So win-win. We also have a couple amazing chapters in our orientation guide, which is posted in our Slack channel, but it's all about how to do a housing search and how to design your budget. And of course, come to office hours. But I'm going to go ahead and share our orientation guide real quick, just so that you can see what's in there. So there are still some updates that are going to be.
Hello, my name is Ingrid.
Okay. But there's even a longer chapter on CalFresh if you still have additional questions. If we go to finding housing, you can see there's a recap of the benefits we offer. We're currently surveying our current core so that if anyone is moving out and they want to recommend their apartment to you, then we're going to post it here. But we talk about the pros and cons of living with other City Year Core members versus like finding people on your own. There are also like housing groups on Facebook you can check out. Some of them are like designed for like student housing, but you can still sneak in there and live with maybe other like grad students. There's also data in here that gives a recommended like budget, just like data from years past. So that cost is definitely something to keep in mind. Just note that while we recommend, you know, budgeting $400 to $600 for rent, that's if you are sharing a room with a roommate. It's gonna be very difficult to find like a solo room or like a studio within this price. So just keep that in mind. Recommend sharing rooms to offset the cost of housing. There are step-by-step instructions for how to do an apartment search. You can even check out some places on like Craigslist or apartments.com today if you just want to get an idea of what it looks like and some like communities that currently have housing availability. You're likely not going to find a place that would like reserve a room from like now until July. Folks generally give like a 30-day notice when they move out, and landlords will try to like backfill that housing unit as soon as possible. So just keep that in mind. We also have like a general timeline about like when to be talking to people and looking for roommates, and when you want to land your lease and like decide where exactly you want to live, as well as some other helpful links. So I'm not going to cover 100% of the information that's listed there, but definitely check that out in your own time when you get a chance. I'm going to talk about this later, but in terms of office hours next month, we are going to talk all about budgeting, and we will factor in the housing search into that. And we're going to do another relocation event similar to this in May, knowing that we will have more people at that point looking for housing. So just know that we're going to talk more about this and more in depth later this year. And in terms of finding roommates, a bunch of folks have introduced themselves in Slack already, and that's awesome. If you haven't introduced yourself, I highly recommend it. Folks have been sharing like photos and just more information about their interests. So definitely feel free to comment on them or like send someone a DM to talk about something. Slack is your platform to connect with each other. We also have a roommate survey for folks to fill out and use to reach out to each other. We aren't going to
Hey, I
match
think
you.
Molly might have frozen.
Oh no. Can y'all still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Sorry, I think it's my internet. Okay. So we have a roommate survey. That is linked in our Slack channel, so I definitely recommend checking that out. We aren't going to match you with a roommate, but you can review all of the survey results and reach out to folks directly from there. The survey will ask questions about like your preferred like noise level, or like if you have any pets, or if you'd like to share food with each other. So you can look for people, see if you have any common interests, and I encourage you to be that person to reach out. I know sometimes we want to put the information out there and then just kind of wait for folks to come to us, but I encourage you to be that person to like be proactive and like start chatting with people. The sooner you do that, the more time you have to get to know folks before you decide who you want to live with for the next year. I also did a recap of our office hours, so definitely come to our session about living on the stipend and relocating. I think we'll do a second one that's just like a meet and greet as well, so that you can connect with folks over Zoom in a virtual space as well. So yeah, I'm gonna do a time check. We're almost at 5, so which is good because we're just about wrapping up. So these are our next sessions. Highly recommend you attend. I'm gonna offer incentives. That since this is our first time offering prizes, everyone who comes today is going to get a City Year sticker from me, and I'll be reaching out to confirm your address so that I mail it to the right place. I will go ahead and pause here to see if folks do have any questions. I hope I didn't roll through everything too quickly, but we can take some time.
Yeah, I had a question about when schools are on vacation. I wondered how that affected our stipend or if it did affect our stipend at all.
It doesn't. So you're still going to receive your stipend every 2 weeks for the full term of service. So our core members, you'll receive like a short like winter break and time off for Thanksgiving, and you're still going to be paid every 2 weeks regardless.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. This is a fun piece. So for anyone who's watching the recording, if they tell me what the object I'm about to show is, they are also going to receive a sticker.
I have a quick question. There's not a confirmed like orientation date yet, is there?
So there's not. We're looking at July 31st being our first official start date. And then you're going to be in training for those first 2 weeks of service. So that's kind of like your orientation, but you're paid for it. I'll confirm once we have a final start date in the next few weeks or so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I have a City Year Keepsake box where I kept old gifts that I've gotten from my students. So I'm going to show, I should stop sharing my screen. Okay, so I'll be sharing a paper crane from one of my students. So folks who are watching the recording, if you DM me paper crane, I will send you a City Year sticker. Let's see. So I think just to wrap up, in terms of moving forward next month, keep an eye out for the April newsletter. Planning on sending that next week. For our next office hour, we will talk all about budgeting. Our first round of background checks are also going to launch at the very end of next month. There'll be more information about that in the April newsletter, and I'll send a notification once they are ready to go, so that you all know to check your email for those. All the guides, like the orientation guide, benefits guide, are posted in Slack, so I highly recommend checking those out. And we will know our start date soon, estimating July 31st, but I will confirm soon. Another resource on the way is the stipend overview that will have the biweekly pay schedule, as well as a post-tax estimate, so that y'all can think about what your budget is going to look like before you begin service and going into service. So, alrighty. Thanks, y'all, for joining. I hope you found this helpful. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. I don't want to miss. Okay. Okay. I guess maybe, okay. Thanks for bearing with me for some technical issues. I will stay on in case folks do have other questions, but thank you so much for attending the full office hour.
Yeah, thank you, Molly. This is great. I really appreciate you going through everything.
Thank you.
I have
Have a good